Your project might have more risks than you can handle, so you have to decide which risks you're going to track and manage. For the risks that are significant enough to plan for, you have to decide how you'll respond if the risk occurs. To select the risks you're going to track and manage, you assess each risk you've identified by asking two questions. How likely is it that the risk will occur? For example, construction projects almost always seem to be delayed, so the likelihood of it occurring is high. The second question is, how big is the impact if it does occur? If the opening day for the new space is critical, the construction delay would have a huge impact. So the construction delay risk is definitely one you'll plan for. Ask the same people who helped you identify risks to help you assess their probability and impact. After you evaluate all the risks, the next step is to decide which ones you'll manage. If you categorize probability and impact using low, medium, and high, you might manage risks if you rate them medium or high in either probability or impact. You can create a spreadsheet to record information about each risk you plan to manage. The next step in planning for risks is to decide how you'll respond to each risk in your plan. There are several ways to manage risks. The easiest option is to simply accept the consequences. For example, with the relocation, commercial space is hard to find, so there's a chance that a suitable space won't be available when you want it. You decide that you're okay with waiting in order to get the space you want. Another option for less significant risks is to use contingency funds to handle the risk. For instance, you plan to use contingency funds to pay overtime in order to get the work done in time. Avoiding risk is another option. That means you change your project plan in some way to remove the risky part. For example, if the flooring you'd prefer is often backordered, you might choose a different type of flooring instead. Mitigating risk means taking action to reduce the consequences. For example, with the relocation, you might opt for a simple floor plan so that construction delays won't be as long if they do occur. Transferring risk means handing off the risk to someone else. Purchasing insurance is one way to transfer risk. A fixed-price contract is another way to transfer the risk of cost increases. When you choose responses, make sure they're appropriate for the magnitude of the risk. If you think a delayed opening day will cost you $2,000, don't spend $5,000 to prevent the delay. The final step in a risk management plan is defining how you will track risks and measure the success of the risk responses. Add each risk you're going to manage. Here are the things to identify for each risk. A description of the risk, such as a construction delay. The response you've chosen. The trigger that indicates that you need to implement the response you chose, like the contractor telling you there's a delay. Who is going to monitor the risk? And the result you expect if you have to actually use the response you chose. Now that you have a plan for the risks your project faces, all you have to do is start following that plan once the project work begins.